Welcome to Health for People in a Hurry. Let's begin by scooping into the irresistible history of ice cream, as told in Of Sugar and Snow by Jeri Quinzio. This isn't just a book, it's a celebration of one of humanity's sweetest inventions, a treat so simple and yet so powerful that just saying its name can light up someone's face. Think about it, the jingle of an ice cream truck, the chill of that first bite on a blazing summer day, or the pure nostalgia of a Sunday shared in childhood. Ice cream isn't just food, it's a feeling. Today, ice cream is a $60 billion global industry, loved and devoured by millions. But for most of its history, it wasn't the everyday indulgence we know. Ice cream was a luxury, an extravagance reserved for the elite. Before the late 19th century, eating ice cream was like owning a private jet, exclusive, rare, and dripping in prestige. It wasn't until the Industrial Revolution that this frozen delicacy made its way from aristocratic banquets to neighborhood parlors and, eventually, our freezers. Quinzio takes us back to where it all began. There are myths, Nero mixing snow with honey, Marco Polo supposedly introducing it to Europe, Catherine de' Medici bringing it to French royalty. The truth? Ice cream's roots are firmly planted in Italy, where culinary artisans crafted the first versions of this dessert in their kitchens. In pre-industrial Europe, ice cream was more than a treat, it was a statement. To serve it at a royal banquet wasn't just about indulgence, it was a flex, proof of wealth and innovation. Why? Because making ice cream required one critical ingredient, ice. In the 17th and 18th centuries, ice wasn't just sitting in a freezer. It was harvested from frozen lakes, hauled across great distances, and stored in elaborate ice houses. The process was so labor-intensive that only the wealthiest could afford the luxury. Then came the 19th century, and with it, the Industrial Revolution. Suddenly, ice cream became everyone's dessert. Advances in freezing technology and the birth of large-scale production made it possible for ice cream to leave the confines of palaces and estates, finding its way into diners, street corners, and family gatherings. Entrepreneurs seized the opportunity, creating the iconic shops and brands that made ice cream a staple of everyday life. But as much as we celebrate ice cream, Quinzio offers a gentle reminder. Too much of this creamy joy has its downsides. The sugar, the fat, the sheer bliss it delivers, they light up the brain like fireworks. But overindulgence? That's where the trouble starts. It's a reminder to enjoy ice cream for what it is, a moment of happiness, not a habit. Let's rewind to 17th century Italy, a world where wealth and luxury still define the Mediterranean city-states, even as their power waned. Dining wasn't just about sustenance, it was a performance. Tables were stages, and the most innovative act in the culinary theater, chilled desserts. Iced juices, frozen wines, creamy puddings, they weren't just food, they were status symbols. And among these indulgences, something extraordinary began to emerge, the first whispers of what we now know as ice cream. Enter Antonio Latini, a humble yet brilliant chef from Naples. Rising from modest beginnings, he became a culinary star, working for Cardinal Barberini in Rome and later for the Salcedo family in Naples. But Latini's claim to fame wasn't just his exquisite meals, it was his milk ice, an early ancestor of modern ice cream. Here's Latini's genius in action. He mixed equal parts milk and water, sweetened it with sugar, and flavored it with candied lemon peel. He poured this mixture into jars, then placed them in buckets of ice combined with salt. The ice and salt together created a rapid cooling effect, freezing the mixture into a dessert that was smooth, luscious, and entirely new, a texture somewhere between panna cotta and today's ice cream. It was groundbreaking, but Latini wasn't necessarily the inventor. What he was, without a doubt, was the innovator who turned this dessert into a sensation. From Italy, milk ice spread across Europe, enchanting aristocrats and chefs alike. By 1671, it made its royal debut at a Windsor Castle banquet hosted by King Charles II of England. The English, ever efficient with words, gave it the name ice cream. Served in lavish portions at royal gatherings, it became a symbol of wealth and sophistication. But let's talk about the alchemy of its ingredients. Ice cream's rise wasn't just about freezing milk, it was tied to the history of sugar and spice. In the 17th century, sugar was as precious as gold, its supply reliant on colonial expansion and the labor of enslaved individuals on Caribbean plantations. As sugar became more accessible, desserts like ice cream shifted from the realm of royalty to the upper echelons of society. And then there was vanilla. Imported from Mexico in the 16th century, vanilla's allure remained rare and costly until the 19th century, when breakthroughs in artificial pollination made its cultivation more widespread. Add cocoa and coffee, both arriving via global trade, and suddenly, ice cream wasn't just sweet, it was exotic and exciting. Presentation played its part, too. Early European confectioners transformed ice cream into edible art. They poured it into molds shaped like fruits, flowers, or sculptures. They used natural dyes, vivid reds from cochineal insects, yellows from saffron, to add splashes of color. Imagine picking up what looks like a peach, only to discover it's a perfectly molded scoop of ice cream. That's the kind of whimsy these artisans created. By the 19th century, ice cream had become a fixture in Europe's most glamorous cafes. Take Café Tortoni in Paris, a beacon of sophistication. Starting at 11 p.m., the cafe served dazzling ice cream creations in crystal bowls adorned with candied fruits, crushed macarons, and nuts. Patrons included everyone from political leaders like Talleyrand to literary icons like Baudelaire. At Tortoni, ordering ice cream wasn't just a treat, it was a statement of refinement. Even Balzac couldn't resist immortalizing Café Tortoni in La Comédie Humaine. For the French elite, ice cream represented art, culture, and prestige, a dessert that transcended the plate. Fast forward to the 17th and 18th centuries. Ice cream was already a hit among Europe's wealthy elite, but for the average person, completely out of reach. The reason wasn't the ingredients or recipes, it was ice. Back then, ice had to be harvested during winter from frozen lakes and rivers, stored in insulated ice houses, and carefully rationed throughout the warmer months. Ice was rare, expensive, and frankly, a logistical nightmare. Now, these ice houses were remarkable feats of engineering. They were painted white to reflect sunlight and insulated with sawdust or straw to keep the ice from melting. But despite their ingenuity, the process was unreliable and couldn't meet the demand. Enter the Industrial Revolution, a game changer. By the late 19th century, electrically powered refrigeration emerged, making artificial ice production cheaper, safer, and far more efficient. By 1920, the United States alone was producing 40 million tons of artificial ice annually, leaving natural ice in the dust. For the first time, ice was affordable, turning it from a luxury into a common commodity. But there was still one big challenge, making the ice cream itself. Enter Nancy Johnson, a Philadelphia inventor who changed everything in 1848. She created the hand-crank ice cream maker, a simple yet revolutionary device that allowed anyone to churn out creamy, consistent ice cream at home. Sure, it required some effort, 30 to 40 minutes of manual cranking, but it made ice cream accessible to families and small businesses. And as technology advanced, electric ice cream machines took over, making the process even easier and more efficient. With ice readily available and production streamlined, mass production became the next big step. This is where Jacob Fussell comes in. A Baltimore dairy producer, Fussell noticed that surplus milk often went to waste in the summer. He had a brilliant idea: turn that extra milk into ice cream on a large scale. By building an ice cream factory and using economies of scale, Fussell slashed costs and made ice cream affordable for the masses. What once cost a fortune at a fancy parlor could now be bought at half the price from a street vendor or grocery store. Fussell's innovation didn't just change the game, it created a whole new market. And then came one of the most iconic moments in ice cream history, the invention of the ice cream cone. It was 1904, at the St. Louis World's Fair. The story goes that either a waffle vendor named Hamwi or another vendor named Dumar had a stroke of genius. They rolled waffles into cones to hold scoops of ice cream, creating an edible, portable solution that instantly caught on. The ice cream cone wasn't just practical, it was fun, and it became a global sensation almost overnight. Finally, let's talk about the invention that truly brought ice cream into every home, the refrigerator. Before this, ice cream was a buy it now, eat it now treat because it melted quickly. Early ice boxes helped preserve food but weren't cold enough for ice cream. Everything changed in the 1920s when compact, affordable refrigerators with proper freezing capabilities hit the market. Suddenly, families could buy and store tubs of ice cream, enjoying it whenever they wanted. By 1914, U.S. ice cream production had soared to 70 million gallons a year, cementing its place as a household staple. Let's take a closer look at how ice cream went from a simple treat to a cultural phenomenon and the health concerns that came with it. By the 1920s, ice cream was no longer a luxury. It was a summer essential. Kids chasing ice cream trucks, families gathering for cones at the park, it became a symbol of carefree indulgence. Today, in the U.S. alone, the average person consumes over 20 kilograms of ice cream a year. But as the love for this frozen treat grew, so did some tough questions. Is it as innocent as it seems? Let's start with the early production days. Back in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, ice cream's growth came with serious safety risks. Unsanitary dairy practices were common, with milk from diseased cows making its way into factories. Harmful bacteria, including streptococci and even tuberculosis pathogens, posed real threats. And summer, ice cream's peak season, often coincided with outbreaks of infectious diseases, overwhelming public health systems. This is where regulations stepped in. The Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906 began setting safety standards, but the real breakthrough came from Alice Evans Pennington. A pioneering bacteriologist, her research into dairy safety in Philadelphia led to mandatory pasteurization laws. Her work became the blueprint for food safety regulations across the country. By 1958, the FDA had raised the bar even higher, setting strict standards for what could officially be called ice cream. They defined milk fat percentages, banned harmful emulsifiers, and ensured that the treat we love lived up to both taste and safety standards. But even when made safely, ice cream isn't exactly health food. A typical scoop contains more than 15% sugar, way more than the average soda. And premium brands like Haagen-Dazs? Their fat content often tops 17%, delivering that signature richness, but also a hefty dose of cholesterol and saturated fat. Then there's the rise of artificial creams, packed with hydrogenated vegetable oils and trans fats, which have been linked to heart disease and obesity. Delicious? Sure. Nutritionally dense? Not so much. And let's talk about its addictive nature. Ice cream's combination of sugar and fat activates the brain's reward system, releasing dopamine and giving you that euphoric feeling. But over time, your brain's response diminishes, leading you to eat more just to experience the same satisfaction. That's not just a sweet tooth, it's a physiological cycle. Even the iconic brain freeze has a story. That sharp, stabbing pain when you eat something cold too fast? It's your body reacting to rapid temperature changes. The cold constricts blood vessels in your mouth, then they dilate, triggering pain receptors that your brain misinterprets as a headache. It's a quick warning system, albeit an uncomfortable one. Here's the good news. Brain freeze is manageable. Press your tongue to the roof of your mouth, massage the affected area, or cover your nose and mouth to warm up the palate quickly. And if you have high blood pressure or a heart condition, take it slow. Those rapid changes can be more than just a nuisance. And here we are at the end of a truly captivating journey through history, culture, and the creamy sweetness that unites us all. Ice cream, this simple, frozen delight, has traveled through centuries, weaving its story into the very fabric of human progress. From exclusive royal banquets to the freezer aisle of every grocery store, it's become more than just a dessert. It's a mirror reflecting our evolution as a society. Think about it. Every scoop of ice cream carries with it a history of innovation and cultural revolutions. 500 years ago, this treat was a luxury so rare it was reserved for the wealthiest of the wealthy, painstakingly crafted with scarce ingredients like imported sugar and natural ice. Today, it's a universal joy, accessible to billions. How did this transformation happen? It began with the age of exploration. Sugarcane from the Caribbean, vanilla from Mexico, cocoa from South America, all these exotic flavors converged to create the first truly global dessert. The Industrial Revolution pushed the story further, with advancements in machinery, refrigeration, and logistics making ice cream affordable and available to everyone. By the mid-20th century, ice cream had become more than a food. It was a symbol of joy and resilience. During World War II, it boosted morale, offering soldiers a taste of home even in the harshest conditions. Imagine that, in the middle of global conflict, ice cream became a tiny beacon of comfort. And then there's pop culture. Who can forget Audrey Hepburn savoring gelato in Roman Holiday, turning a simple cone into an icon of romance and freedom? Ice cream isn't just a treat, it's a mood, a memory, a moment. But as much as we celebrate it, we can't ignore its challenges. Today, ice cream also reminds us to think about balance. With rising concerns over health and nutrition, it's a call to enjoy responsibly. Indulgence is sweet, but mindfulness makes it sweeter. Now, here's a fun question. If you could create a healthier version of your favorite ice cream flavor, what would it be? Share your ideas in the comments. I'd love to know. If this video gave you a fresh perspective, give it a like and subscribe for more stories about finding balance and joy in everyday life. Let's make healthy living just as sweet.